Hey, I love that Trevor May hat. An A's floral.
It's back. It's back. It's my favorite hat. Wear it all the time.
Really nice.
I thought you hated the A's, Scott.
Me?
The A's, the Angels, the Mariners, the Pirates. There's a long list, Trev.
Mariners.
On Jackie Robinson Day, there's a long list that we're going to go through of teams that Scott hates.
That is not what Jackie Robinson Day is about. Wait, before
no,
all
I'm talking
that,
about that. I'm just saying it is Jackie Robinson Day, but then we're going to get to
we're doing a segment on teams. We're definitely not.
We don't have
doing
enough
that.
time.
I love the Mariners for years. The A's, I feel a stronger connection probably to A's fans than anyone else. And we got a comment back when we talked about him yesterday from a fan who said, hey, I can vouch. I'm in Sacramento right now. I was about to get season tickets. This was like a few months ago. And then they read about how the city was not going to be embraced. The person said, I read an article about it. And then there were some expletives. So there will be no attending from that particular person. And it is a real person. I even wrote down, who was it? CMANSU, whatever that means. But that was their account name on YouTube. So we saw it. Appreciate the comment. Thank you. On the topic of florals, one more time, because we're announcing it tomorrow. So It ends today. Ends tonight. Oh, nice.
Nice.
That's actually a good view. You like these? So these are the Julios, the Adizero Impact Pluses, Adidas. And we got a pair.
We do. They only fit Scott, but and a 7-year-old.
AJ's
those
coming
look pretty
in
narrow.
today, Trevor.
And a
I don't know if I can
7-year-old.
get some toes in there.
No, I think they're size 8. Size 9, sorry.
They're size 18, but we'll give you whatever size you want.
Mm-hmm. These might be the lightest shoes of all time.
They're really light.
These weigh nothing, Trevor. You couldn't pitch in these. I couldn't use these either because I would run right at them. I was so fast. But for normal folk.
These are for the sprinters like me.
Yeah, these are super light, super fast. They have the foams
Julio.
on the bottom.
Julio's
cool.
fast.
And they got a lot of color. Like you can unzip them in here. They have Velcro. They got blue in here. They got a green thingy, a green Yankee thingy. I don't know what you do with that. And then, by the way, just so you know, these are not for sale.
Not for sale.
AJ was about to put them up.
I was going to put them on eBay, but denied.
So there it is. Last day. So go online, Twitter or Instagram, and enter for more details. You have a chance to win. Before we charge, it is Jackie Robinson Day, so we would like to honor Jackie like we do really as much as possible in baseball, but today is a good day to remember Jackie and everything that he went through to break the color barrier in Major League Baseball. And everyone wears Jackie's number.
Everyone wears 42, which
Everyone
I think is
wears
great.
42.
Which is a great tradition that MLB started. I told you before we came on the air that one year they came to us and certain players were wearing it, and they came to us and said, do you want to wear it? And it was like, well, I don't know. And then they made the decision and took it, because there were certain people that would wear it and certain people, not that it wasn't the right thing for everybody to wear it, but it was just a weird question to ask a player, because you don't want someone else in your team to feel awkward if I chose to wear it, or you know what I mean? So instead,
it should be uniform. Everyone,
like they made
together.
the right decision. And listen, I was all for everyone wearing it. I still am. I think it's awesome that everyone comes out with the same number. It's something that should be celebrated all the time. It was just a weird thing when they would come and be like, do you want to wear 42? Do you want to wear 42? And you're like,
yeah, that sounds
right,
like...
Trev? Like, you know how it goes. Like,
yeah, that would be awkward. It would. Because then you'd be like, why'd you say no? You're just putting guys in weird positions. They're like, should I? Like, I would love to, I want to support this too, but like, I understand the history of it and that might not be my place. Right. So like, then you're like, I want to. But I agree. I'm glad they were just like, well, then everyone wear them. And everyone's like, okay, good. We don't have to make this a decision. Yeah, let's just do this. Exactly. And it's a great, I love it. I love this day every year. It's awesome.
Yeah, it is.
And they come out with cool shoes. Everyone has cool shoes, and it's just a celebration of baseball in America, which I think is great. We need more of this. And a lot of Trevor, I think you'll agree, even people in the chat, a lot of the Latin American players would say we should also have Clemente's number retired because of what he did for the Latin American players. And if you ask, Ozzie Guillen and some of these other guys, they'll say there's no doubt he should be. So there's a couple numbers that are very special. And I remember, I think the last guy I played with was maybe Mike Jackson that wore 42 before they retired it from everybody. And you know.
I
and after
agree.
that, it was Mariano, and everyone's like, "Oh, he's the last one."
Right. Yeah, Clemente Day makes sense.
Yeah, I
Just
mean,
change the numbers. We already have Clemente today. Just do his number.
Right, but I'm saying everyone wears it, and then yes, you.
Yeah, you have the Clemente Award for service in the community, which is awesome, right? And that's one of the biggest honors you can win as a player. Yeah, I told you the story about when I was with Texas and we wore 42 and I was playing in Wrigley. And my buddy, after the game, we win, and my buddy's like, "Give me your jersey." So I take it off and I throw it to him in the stands. And then after the game, the equipment guy for the Rangers is like, "Where's your jersey?" And I'm like, "Ah, man, sorry, I gave it to a fan." And he's like, "We're going to auction those off on." And I was like, "Yeah, you're going to have to go get it out of the crowd."
Did they tell you before?
No.
So what?
No.
Come on.
My buddy still has it too. I don't know where it is, probably in his basement somewhere, but he has it.
Now there's a story to it.
Yeah, but it was one of those weird things that, like, I just took it off and was like, "Here, I don't know what they do with these. Here, take it." And then the clubhouse guy's like, No, we needed that. And I was like, well, you got to find the guy. He's in Wrigleyville. He's at the Cubby Bear across the street. Go get it.
Usually when you're doing stuff like that, Trevor, you should tell the player before the game. Is usually the move.
I mean, yeah, I think they're pretty good at that now. Maybe you were the catalyst for making sure, like, do not do anything with your jersey. We are using them, please.
Well, you know, Trevor, they come to you normally, like if it's jersey off your back day, they come to you before and say, listen, after the game, you're going to have to give your jersey away to a fan. So keep it on. Don't do anything crazy with it. Don't rip the buttons off of it, whatever. Because there were times I'd get mad after a game and and then I'd be like, oh.
Yeah, your Hulkamania, your shirt.
Oh, yeah, because like we'd lose in a bad way and I just, because I never unbuttoned my jersey. I would never unbutton it. Put it on or take it off. I never unbuttoned my jersey. I just always put it on. Never unbuttoned it.
Oh, really?
Ever. My whole career, never unbuttoned my jersey.
Is that normal, Trevor?
Now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I unbuttoned mine either. I never on purpose. Yeah, if you can get your head in through the top, then I'm going for it. Baseball players are, I mean, hilariously, I had a couple teammates who would make a huge show every time because you just have to get changed so many times in a day. It's sometimes you get to the park and you're like, I don't want to change into new clothes yet. So we take shortcuts. That's why so many guys have like blown out their Achilles trying to take their shoe off without untying it because we're all so lazy because we do it so many times. So that's just one of the things. But yeah, I wouldn't either. I would always like put it on and then unbutton just the top button because you had to have just a tiny bit of swag, just a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what's amazing? Not only how many times you change, how much time players stand in the mirror and look at themselves before they go take the field. Trevor, how many guys did you have that would stand there? They go in the bathroom and there's like a full length mirror and they would it was legit, like everything, the belt buckle, the way their pants. I've seen more guys take time getting dressed than they did to take batting practice.
They know they're on TV.
I guess.
They're trying to look good.
They're like that dude for the Braves that was trying to pick up chicks in the outfield.
Oh, the
reporter
guy or whatever.
That was funny.
By all accounts, he was successful. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, that was hilarious.
I didn't get to hear it. I saw the tweet.
So basically, he was on the Braves, and there was these two girls like up in the upper deck, and he goes up to him with his mic, and he's like, "Oh, are you guys Braves fans?" They're like, "No, we're Blue Jay fans." He's like, "Can I get you to be Braves fans?" And they were like, no, probably not." And then in their ear, whoever was in his ear goes, "Why don't you ask for their number, and you can maybe get them to change?" And she's like, "So they want me to ask you for your number?" And she's like, "Sure." He's like, "Oh, it seemed like a success. I'm gonna have to use this more often."
Your TV job? Yeah.
No, he meant like walking around. He's like, "I'm gonna walk around with a FanDuel mic and
ask people for their number."
Earpiece in.
Put an earpiece in. Yeah, it was hilarious.
That's good. All right. Yeah, I saw the clip, and people were like, "How much Riz?" or something like that. So, anyway, all right, let's charge the mound.
Charging the mound.
Can we start with the call? What is that?
Patrick Bailey, man, that's what it is. He stole it.
What is that? Tony Randazzo behind home plate. It's a 4-run game in the 7th, and JT Real Muto gets rung up by a pitch just a lot outside, Trevor.
Yeah, JT especially too. He knows he plays that game being a catcher really, really well. You can speak to this, AJ. Like he knows how much emotion he can show without getting his pitcher or himself in trouble. So when he gets mad, he means something. But yeah, that was rough. Not only that, the pitcher's reaction. It's one of those like you very, very rarely feel guilty as a pitcher when you get a call. That one you're like, I didn't earn that. at all. I'll take it. But so even he hesitated. He's like, yeah, totally. It was right there. Nowhere close. Patrick Bailey, 100%. That's the Bailey effect.
Yeah, he stole it. I mean, he stole it. JT would have been doing like this on top of his head if we had the ABS.
Exactly.
He would have been jumping up and down with 2 hands on his head.
I thought he might have done it just to.
No, he didn't want to get ejected.
Yeah.
Because if you go like this now, then you're basically everyone knows what that means. So you're just showing up at the umpire and you're going to get the heave-o. But I don't know. He stole one. Antonio Randazzo, I don't know. Umpires make mistakes. Man.
That was a big steal.
But they make mistakes. That's one of the beauties of baseball, and that's why I don't want the full robot umps, because it's still the beauty of baseball. If we go full robo umps all the time, what can you argue? You can't argue anything, and that will be boring.
But this won't happen next year, is the point, Trevor.
Unless they're out of challenges.
Yeah. If you're out of challenges, then you yell at someone for blowing your challenges. But if not, This is an easy tap, and we continue.
Yeah, if you run out of challenges, that's a skill issue, which I love. I love that it's make it strategy related so you can pick and choose your spots, and if you're really good at it, you'll keep them, which I think is some teams can separate themselves from others, which, who are you giving the opportunity to call it? That situation, that's what we want to avoid. It's almost like the umpires get caught up in, and maybe this question, AJ, how do you feel about how often did it happen where a guy behind the plate was kind of caught up in the tension of the game, just like the players, and sometimes they pull the trigger a little bit, they're like, oh, that was just a reaction that I maybe didn't do. That happened all the time.
You could butter them up sometimes too. You could kind of butter them up a little bit, talking to them. You could get them, especially. I mean, in the old days. Now, I mean, not now because they have the box. But you could still get guys, veteran guys. There would be times where umpires would just be like, "Look, it's 10-0. Like, tell your boys swing at everything."
They would say that to you.
It's going to be a strike.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is a strike. So just swing. And then you'd go in the dugout and you'd tell your guys, and they'd call one off the plate, and they'd start arguing. And the umpire would be like, I told you to tell them. I'm like, I told them, but they still can't pull the trigger. But it's changed now. It's obviously a much better strike zone than what it was, but it definitely is different.
It's going to change more, though, next year, because you're going off the same parameters machine-wise, not on a pitch-by-pitch basis. But, Trevor, if an ump thinks, no, that's a strike, but the machine says no, and you keep calling it, they'll keep challenging you, and you don't, at least the way it's perceived right now, you don't lose the challenge. They might change it, but I think they're going to get 3 challenges, and you keep them if you keep getting it right, because that prevents the bad ump.
Yeah, I don't think they'll take it away. I think they'll keep it just like challenges of other plays. I think that's the best way to do it. And like I said, you got guys that are really, really good at seeing close or far away from the side, and they can throw out a signal or whatever. They can help each other out. You veteran guys are going to get a little bit of advantage. I don't know. It's almost a tiny bit of that old school veteran advantage, just because they know the strike zone better, so they have an advantage by having a lot of experience. The more of those things we can keep in the game, I think, it like preserves the traditional feel of it while also helping solve a problem at least somewhat, and keeping it like a strategy situation as opposed to just everything's right, everything's wrong. There has to be tension. There has to be room for error, both for the guys calling the game and the guys playing the game, because it's humans playing. It's a human game. So there has to be some of that, but you can clean up. If you can clean up 80% of it, then I think that's enough.
By the way, we could do a whole show on stories of umpires and calling pitches. I mean, I could do a whole show on stuff that I heard back there and told umpires and said umpires. A lot of it we couldn't use on the air, but we could do a whole show. I'm sure Trevor has some stories of umpires telling me about strike zones and things they saw and what to do and whatnot. You'd have one umpire tell you this, and the next umpire the next day would say, "Don't do that," and you're like, "Wait, the guy yesterday told me to do it." I mean, it was incredible, especially when I was young, the things that the umpires would say. And then as I got older, I would tell them, and they would usually throw me out of the game. But I mean, there was a lot of things that happened back there. I mean, you're confined to the guy is right. I mean, the dude is right on. I mean, he's right here. So you got full conversation for half the game.
Yeah, you're spending about an hour and a half with him.
Yeah, and nobody knows what's happening. Like, you can have full conversations. That's why, like, some hitters would be like, "Can you guys shut up?" Because you're talking like, there are certain guys you talk like college football or golf, and you're talking the whole game, and the hitter's trying to hit. And it's like, "Can you guys just shut up, please?"
but that's
You're
good.
talking about nothing about the baseball.
Yeah, you're getting in his head then. If he has to say that to you, then he's not locked in.
Sure.
All right. So anyway, next year, the blatant stuff is going to get corrected because the team will challenge it unless they run out of challenges. We can ask Ryan Yarbrough about this. Yankees reliever joining us next on FT.
He wants to strike on this. But...
Yeah, huge. Kratz, Mother's Day is around the corner. Do not overlook it, and you need to go the extra mile for Ma. I'm talking to everyone out there. Gift idea. Go.
Easy. Storyworth. Scrapbook with stories. You get pictures, stories. You send it out to people. They put their stories in there. It's super easy. They guide you through the whole thing, and it's a keepsake for life.
Right. They'll email you questions. You respond with an epic story. Everyone needs this, right? And Storyworth makes it so much easier. And that's why it has more than 40,000 five-star reviews on Trustpilot with millions of stories preserved since they were founded over 10 years ago. Give all the moms in your life a unique, heartfelt gift you'll all cherish for years. Storyworth, right now, save $10 on your first purchase when you go to storyworth.com/foul. That's storyworth.com/foul to save $10 on your first purchase. Mother's Day is coming soon. Do not overlook it. Get it done. All right, we're back for 2 minutes. We got the Jose Siri news yesterday. So he fouled a pitch off his leg, bless you, on Saturday against the A's, carted off the field. They had the cart issue.
Kind of carted off.
Right, kind of carted off. But initial x-ray negative. Then he gets an MRI yesterday, and it showed a fractured tibia. So he's going to miss a good chunk of time for the Mets. I mean, they've got some outfield depth. Tyrone Taylor's been pretty good with them the last couple of years. Starling Marte can swing it when he's healthy, so they'll survive. I mean, Acuna can play in the outfield, I think, too.
Probably. His brother does okay out there.
Yeah.
So this sucks. This sucks. He was.
Where's Jeff McNeil at? Is he coming back soon?
He's probably golfing somewhere.
Rehab game.
Yeah. This sucks for Siri. He was supposed to be a big piece of for them for their outfield defense to go out there and play because he does play a great center field. He brings a swag to them. He brings a lot of flair. It sucks for him, but hopefully they get the card issues fixed in Oakland or Sacramento or Vegas or whatever they're called now, and he gets back quickly.
Yeah.
I only heard of one other guy doing this, by the way, breaking their shin, and Jermaine Dye did it. He's the only other guy I've ever heard of fouling a ball breaking their shin.
Remember, Yelich was kneecap, right?
Yeah.
When he fouled his off. You see that, Trevor?
Yeah, I did. Nothing that looks like it feels very good. I've only seen someone break their femur, not fully, just fracture, but like I can't imagine what breaking one of those big bones in your legs even feels like, or just trying to walk around all day. It's just probably miserable.
Mm-hmm.
I still have a dent in my shin.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
All right, we've got Ryan Yarbrough with us. I think it's the first time we've had you on, Yarbs, since you actually got picked up by the Yanks. So how you doing, and how's life as a New York Yankee?
Yeah, what's going on, guys? It's it's a little it's just really cool, but at the same time, it's getting used to the big city in New York. It takes some time, but we're finally starting to get settled in, and I got the wife and kids with me, so they're enjoying the city for sure.
Wait, can we get you an apartment? I feel like you're in a hotel. Do Yankees not have ready-made apartments for you guys there? Because that definitely didn't look like an apartment to me.
No, we're still hotel living right now. I signed here literally like the day before season started, so it's been a whirlwind and getting everything situated. And we're trying to find that perfect spot. Everyone's pretty spread out here, so getting a lot of different opinions and some good insights on where we want to be. So we're still figuring that out right now.
I would think your wife would want to be like in Midtown, Soho, somewhere where the shopping is really good, and you probably don't want to be there. I mean, your kids probably want to be somewhere else. So I can understand why it might be a little tough to find a place to live in New York.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there's plenty of options, but for sure we're near Central Park right now, and they're definitely enjoying that. The kids love that, just get to run around there. But it's if you're not used to it. It's definitely a whirlwind of there's in the city. No one's ever sleeping. There's always something to do. So that's that really nice, especially after a game if you need to grab something quick to eat or anything. But man, like there's tons of options. But they definitely love being right here in Midtown and being here Central Park.
What was the place? Halal Bros? What's it called? Halal Bros, Scott?
That's a place.
The
what about it?
Street meat place, man. That place is.
That's a legit street meat place.
Yeah.
There's some.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're all good,
spots.
but I mean, the place right by the hotel we were for the BBWAA, right across the street was the Yellow Umbrella. I think it was called Halal Bros. It was freaking nice.
Yeah. All right, so I want to know how this all came about, right? So you're with Toronto, you're on a minor league contract. I think you pitched pretty well in spring training from what I looked at. And then I guess they didn't take you on the roster. Can you take me through that storyline? The Yanks called. Did you have conversations with the Blue Jays about how this was going to play out at that time?
Yeah, I mean, first off, just kind of, especially showing up in camp late, you're just kind of like just trying to hit the ground running. And like I said, I feel like I had a pretty good camp, and especially on a minor league deal, you have that opt out at the end of spring, and you kind of basically give them like a 48-hour notice, 2-day notice, where you're like, all right, cool, we're probably going to exercise this. Kind of, where are you guys at? And kind of took it down to the wire, and and ended up like saying, all right, cool, we don't kind of see you as being a part of the team at this point. So at that point, you are able to just really send out a ton of different feelers, and you opt out. And then, like I said, it happened pretty quickly. We opted out that Sunday morning, and late Sunday night, we kind of had everything done. And I was over at the complex with the Yankees the next day, bright and early.
Ryan, you mentioned after negotiations that you had some other options possibly outside of the Yankees, but you ultimately chose the Yankees. Why is that? What was going on there? You see a good fit? Was there an opportunity, a spot open? You just want to be
I think all of that, honestly. Especially we're being with Tampa all those years, seeing all the guys that have come in and out here, and talking with some guys who've been here, and especially from the pitching side, the things they've been able to do. So I was very excited to kind of be a part of that, and kind of be able to absorb everything they have for me so far. So it's been really fun, and kind of getting to know the guys and kind of what they've kind of seen and can help me with. And especially, like I said, I've played against them for so long. They've had a good grasp of what I'm able to do, what makes me really successful, what makes me good. So just really trying to emphasize those things. And it's been a fun little ride so far. So I'm loving it.
Yarbs, what do the Yankees tell you? That's what I want to know. When you switch organizations, the Blue Jays were in their division. You've been in their division with the Rays and the Blue Jays. So what do they say? Because they faced you obviously a billion times, and they've seen you pitch a billion times. So when you get over to the Yankees, what's their first thing? Do they come up to you and say, hey, we think your four-seamer has super spin, so you should throw it up and into righties? Like, what's their go-to thing that you found the Yankees are telling you?
Well, first and foremost, I feel like some of the guys are just like, glad to have you on this side. Think we don't have to like face you anymore. Some guys aren't really appreciative of that, but I think it's just more of just kind of like really just super emphasizing your strengths. Or I don't think it's anything too out of the box. I think it's just more of like just doubling down and just really giving you a little bit more confidence, like especially from hearing it from certain people, and the more and more you hear it from different teams, especially like, hey, you do this really well, continue to do that, or hey, we think you can add a little bit of this. But I think it was just more of, look, you're really good at what you do, especially against the left-handed hitters. Just really continue that, and continue really using your strengths, whatever those might be, especially for me, pitching inside to right-handed hitters. So not trying to super crazy change things, maybe little tweaks here and there to help maybe get your stuff a little like sharper. But it's just a matter of like really just go with your strengths, and you do things your certain way, and it's a unique look. So continue doing that.
Yarbs, when you play the Blue Jays, because they're in your division, and you get the save or you get the win like Hoffman did the other day, are you gonna towards their dugout like Hoffman did towards the Orioles?
Oh, that was great. I saw that, and I literally, my locker was next to him for all of spring training when I was there, so got to know him pretty well. So I thought that was hilarious. But no, I don't think I'll do that. But I mean, definitely looking forward to that series, and they're coming up here to New York next week. We go on a road trip for next week, and then they come into town. So probably no kisses, but I'm sure I'll I'll be excited to kind of hopefully get in one of those games.
Did you ask him? Did you text Jeff? Did you text him and say,
No, I
"Hey
probably
man, like
should
I
have.
mean, you were locker mates. You could have been like,
Yeah.
Let's say you guys, are in the ninth inning against each other somehow, and you finish it off, and you just look over at him and maybe to him, and then everyone thinks it's to the Blue Jays, but you're really just doing it to him."
Man, I don't know how that would go down. Especially I think he'd probably laugh at it. I don't know. I think it would depend on the circumstances. Everyone's pretty competitive, so. But when you're in the heat of the moment, those things kind of happen. It's just out of pure adrenaline, and you're just competing out there. So, but when I did see that though, he did that. I definitely got a good chuckle out of it, getting to know him, and I did not see that coming. But one of those things you're like, all right, cool. That was pretty. In the heat of the moment, being able to do that, that's something.
Yeah, that was awesome. What did you think of the Vladdy Jr. deal? Because you were there in spring training when it felt like it dominated camp for a few weeks, and then everyone's like, oh man, the deadline passed, but then they got it done. And it seems like, there's almost like a sigh of relief because, I mean, you can speak to it. You see other players have to answer those questions for weeks because if there's nothing else going on, that's the storyline that dominates. And you can only ask Vladdy so much, then other teammates get asked about it, right?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, super happy for him. I know he really loves being in Toronto. So excited for him to kind of get that weight off his shoulder. I know, like, the grand scheme of things, he was going to, like, get his, but the fact that he wanted to be in Toronto and they were able to get it done, have that hold over his head, is great. So, but it was very interesting because especially kind of when I showed up late, like, that's all everyone was talking about, his deal and the deadline and everything like that. But from a player perspective, being in camp, it wasn't like something, at least from my view, that like was super like talked about, at least from the player side. It was definitely like more media, just kind of like covering it, media driven that way. But from the player perspective, he was just going about his business, doing his thing. And, that thing was kind of like on getting taken care of, obviously, and just more about just kind of getting work in, getting ready for the season, and, putting up a good team and good season together.
Yarbs, back to the pitching staff over there at the Yankees. You joining that squad is a big help considering all of the injuries. What's the vibe like, especially out in the bullpen, knowing that with this many starting pitchers going down, you guys are going to have to probably cover more innings?
Yeah, I've been on some really good teams, and the bullpen here has got some electric guys down there, so it's some unbelievable stuff. So. It's just a matter of, how it is, man. You picking each other up. Things happen throughout the year where you have some injuries and you kind of just the next man up and you got to step up and cover those innings. There's just a matter how you do it. There's always that set number of innings you got to cover every single year. So some days their starters are going to like really cover us and give us a day off. And some days we're going to pick them up too. So we understand that, especially early on when guys are still like building up. And through that process, you understand like you just really got to like be on top of your things and making sure you're recovering and getting your work in so you're able to go and whenever you're called upon. But man, there's a ton of good guys on this team, especially in the bullpen with electric stuff and the starter. So hopefully those guys get healthy and we'll be in a good spot. But for now, we're good and confident enough we can pick up their innings for them whenever they need it.
Yarbs, what's it like being on the Yankees compared to when you were like on, let's use the Rays, for example, when you were on the Rays? Like the Yankees can go out and get whoever they want to get in trades. And when you were on the Rays, they were like, hey, Ryan, we're going to need you to start, close, set up, and pitch long relief all in 1 week. So can you do that for us? Is there a different feeling as a player? Because I know when you had confidence in your front office to go get the pieces you need, you're like, all right, we can do this. We can stay sharp. They'll eventually get us the help. And then I was on teams where you're like, we know they're not going to get us any help. We got what we got.
Yeah, like I've been on both ends of the spectrum, and I think that's what makes me be successful with how like different roles I've done it is from dealing all that with at Tampa. Because like you said, literally it's just, hey, you got to sink or swim, man. You either got to get on board or you're not going to be able to like cut it here. So like there's a lot of different things where you got to like take into perspective over there and just be ready to go whenever called upon in whatever role, because they're going to do some unique things over there. But it kind of builds you up for whenever you get to other places. Hey, do you mind doing this? Yeah, man, that's fine. I've done that however many times. So we're in a good spot with that. But it is crazy to think about where a team like this, like, okay, you guys need a guy, we can go get it for you. you saw that with LA last year when I was there for those 2 years. They're going to get you those guys, but I think that was the tough part about Tampa. Not tough, but like it was a unique situation where you knew this was it, but at the same time, it made you like feel like you had to step a little more. Like, okay, cool, we got this. You know, we have a really good group here, but they also had so many young guys where they just seem to bring up another guy who throws mid to high 90s with just electric stuff. So it's incredible how they develop and keep guys over there. But exciting to kind of see how we continue to grow here with New York, and especially like they're going to go get whatever we kind of need to help win, especially after getting that taste of the World Series last year.
Speaking of roles, I'm really interested because you just came from two organizations that are notoriously good at kind of filling in their relievers with what their role is going to be for the coming series or who they might face. But you kind of are a guy who's done everything. And so as someone who did a bunch of different roles as well, and when I locked in the game kind of changed over time, are you one of those guys that you pitch so many different roles that the phone ringing just isn't surprising to you anymore? Because I know that some guys struggle with it because they've been in one role for so long. Are you just always expecting it from the first pitch of the game all the way to the last that it could be you coming through that phone?
Oh, 100%. You know, I think like it's one of those things where, like you said, if you're able to like get something, it gives you that sense of like, okay, you know, like I'm maybe not the first guy up, but you still got to be ready just in case, because, you know, things can change throughout the game, you know, matchups, however things go. So, but it gives you a little bit of sense of understanding, okay, cool, this is my lane. I'm looking for these couple guys, or, you know, I'm going to be a length guy today, so you got to be ready early on. So having that communication definitely can help, but at the same time, like, you don't always get that luxury, so you got to be ready to go. And I think it was a couple of years ago, I think I got traded to LA, and I think I think we had an opener, whatever reason. Either way, I knew I was coming in early, and some like a couple of the younger guys were like, you know, you're just sitting there chit chatting, and all of a sudden the phone rings, and you just get up and get going. They're like, whoa, how did you just do that? Like you flipped the switch. Like you just got to be ready at all times, man. Like it's one of those things where you just got to expect the phone to ring, but at the same time, like if you just sit there and anticipate the phone ringing, you're going to drive yourself insane because you're just going to be too locked in and just crazy adrenaline rush. You just got to relax until it rings and just go about your business and get to work.
That's a great perspective on how to be ready. All right, do you know what happens on May 30th, by the way? Ryan, do you have any idea what May 30th is?
I feel like I'm being set up here, so I don't actually. May 30th.
No. I just want to know. I want to know your answer to this question. You as a Yankee get to go to Los Angeles and play against the Dodgers. They're probably going to give you your World Series ring on that day. Are you going to walk into the Yankees clubhouse and be like, "What's up, fools? I got this thing on my finger."
Oh man, that's like someone was saying that because we always knew like we're like, oh, you're going to get it. And like when I'm like, oh, it'll probably just be whenever you play them during the year, and especially whenever I signed here, I was like, it took me a couple of days to kind of realize that. So no, I will stash that thing away so fast, and you know maybe look at it later or something. But you know, no, I definitely can't bring that thing around for sure. No thanks.
Do you think somebody on the Yankees will say to you though, "I want to see it"? Because there's going to be somebody. Somebody might be
probably.
Bellinger, because Bellinger was an LA guy. But there's going to have to be, you know, there's somebody on the Yankees that's going to say, bro, I know you're not supposed to show me that, but come on, we'll just sneak a peek at that thing.
I'm sure somebody will, and, you know, we'll have to, like, just do it very discreetly if that's the case. But, you know, like, we'll try to keep that pretty low key. But, no, I definitely knew that was coming up on something, on some level. But, you know, we'll definitely handle that when the time comes, you know, hopefully have a better feel of things being here a little bit longer by that point, but at the same time, we're not going to make that a big deal by any means necessary.
It's a good teammate right
there.
It is
a good teammate, but I'd make it a huge deal.
Of course
it's a World Series ring.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
it's not the World Series ring part of it. It's
I know. It's who he's on. I know. It's Fat Joe versus Ice Cube.
A lot of layers.
Yeah, a lot of layers. It's the layers on the ring.
Oh,
5-run tribute.
Oh, yeah, the whole deal.
A lot there.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
So Ryan knows, but now he'll get to see it in person. Maybe at least when you're back home with it, you can show it to us. When you're away from the team, we can have a conversation about it.
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay, cool.
That works.
All right, perfect. Ryan, awesome to have you on again. Congrats on joining the Yanks. We'll catch you in a few weeks.
Awesome. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you. Ryan Yarbrough joining us on FT. Great combo. It's AJ's favorite day because we're matching. We're both wearing True Classic same color shirt today. Let's go. And I pointed it out first, and I'm pretty bad at noticing things like that, and he's really good at paying attention to detail, and we're both like dug into, we prep kind of for this show.
Kind of.
We're both looking at our stuff, and then I look up and I'm like, great True Classic. And he's like, yes.
Well, so here's the thing. Like, I'm used to Scott having his whole closet over there. And for some reason, he took all his shirts because he's been gone for so long.
I did.
And so he hasn't moved all his closet.
He told me to
back
get
in,
rid
Trevor.
of most of my shirts from here
You
and
could have
bring
left
them home.
one, so we don't have this happen again.
Now I have True Classic because let's tell the people
it's a
for a
great
minute.
fit.
It fits
nice.
nice.
Awesome. It fits me better
Yeah.
than Scott. His is smaller than mine because he ordered extra medium. But
if you're into extra medium,
yeah.
they'll take care of you. If you're into normal sizing, they too will take care of you.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I'm a normal size adult. Look how good this shirt looks. I mean,
thank you.
The sleeves fit. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, soft, comfortable, easy, right? Gives you the basic colors too. So go check it out right now. Obviously, you can check it out in stores, Target, Costco. TrueClassic.com is the spot, of course, for us. If you want to check it out and get a little savings action, TrueClassic.com/foul is the website. TrueClassic.com/foul. Elevate your wardrobe today. There's no smooth way to go from that to this. But actually, a good tweet here from Gabrielle
Gab.
Starr, who covers the Red Sox. She said, the Sox can't make Devers the scapegoat for their defensive woes anymore either. Trevor, there were a lot of defensive issues yesterday in their blowout loss to the Rays. They've had defensive woes really for the entire season, and Tanner Houck took the brunt of it. 10 earned runs, 12 total runs allowed?
I think it was 11 or 12.
Yeah, so it was a brutal start for him, and it's one of those, Trevor, where this is a really good pitcher. He's going to have to work the whole year to get it back down to something he's proud of.
Yeah, that's starting pitchers don't have it quite as much as relievers, but yeah, season killers definitely happen to every pitcher. You don't want them in April. Actually, I'll take that back. You would rather have it in April than September. That's for sure. You got at least get a lot of time to get it down. So if it's going to happen, you want to happen early in the year. Yeah, a tough one, especially when it comes to the defense. Like the Boston Red Sox have been really bad defensively for 3 years. Like they were really bad last year, and they were really, really, really bad the 2 years ago. So yes, Devers is in terms of defensive runs saved or whatever the thing is. That's it.
Yep.
You know,
Don't give a ball up to right field and Steinbrenner field either because it keeps going.
Yeah, that's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said.
That's what he said. All right, let's hit that with That's What He Said, as Nolan Arenado is facing the team that he could have been a part of this week, the Houston Astros. He had a big game yesterday. So Chandler Rome from Crush City Territory posted this. Why did Arenado tell the Astros no? Their trade of Tucker, quote, made me a little uncomfortable. And then also he talked about the realization that pursuing him meant that Houston would not re-sign Alex Bregman. That happened anyway. I mean, I can give you a little bit more in the quote. Arenado said, Tucker's one of the best players in the game. When you see a team trade him, 99 out of 100 players would probably be wondering, what does that mean? That's the question I asked myself. And obviously, if I went there, Bregman wouldn't have been going there. That's another player. And he said, I respect the Astros because they can't just wait for me to make my decision. They have to move on, and they have to make their team better, which they did. They got Christian Walker. They did some other things. I can see how it was taken as no, but they know I didn't say no. It was more of I need to see how all this plays out first.
He didn't say no, then why is he an Astro?
He did say no.
Well, then not just say I said no, I didn't want to go there. I want to go to LA.
Right.
I mean, come on. Be serious. I mean,
what were you waiting for? Like, hey, let's talk.
okay,
in a few
they
months.
traded. They the reason they went after him is because they knew they weren't re-signing Bregman. That wasn't a secret.
Mm-mm.
Everyone kind of already knew that. So to say that, now they traded Tucker because they didn't think they could re-sign him, especially if they brought in Arenado in his contract. So they traded Tucker to get, they got some players for Tucker. I mean, Cam Smith is eventually is going to be a really good player. They got some other players that are going to work out. Paredes there but did the Tucker trade though? My question is, happen before or after? He must have happened after Arenado said no.
No, Tucker trade first. Then he sees that and
then he
feels
said
uncomfortable.
no.
Says
okay, because then why did they go get Paredes?
in that trade,
Yes.
they would have moved him to first.
First, and then not signed Christian Walker.
And Arenado would have played third.
Okay, so then the question is Paredes at first and Arenado at third better than Paredes at third and Christian Walker at first?
Sounds like a great question for someone smarter than me across the country.
Who? Oh, me?
Trevor, is your kid around?
You know, I don't know if that's necessarily true, because to be honest, the wild card there is Paredes. Like, I don't know what his skill set is like. I know he's a fine third baseman, but I don't know what first base looks like. And Christian Walker is a Gold Glove, a perennial Gold Glove. So defensively, that's probably the better situation is the Paredes at third and Walker at first. The interesting thing about this and Arenado is like it makes a lot of sense that he's like, is this team on the up and up, or are we on the down and down? And am I part of the down and down? And Nolan Arenado doesn't want to go somewhere that is very clearly kind of filling in some gaps, and a team that isn't necessarily expecting to be as good as they've been in the past. You don't want to, go to a situation like that willingly if you can avoid it. So, and we've all heard all about his competitiveness and wanting to be on teams that are going to be there at the end. Not that he thought they wouldn't, but like if the organization's sending those signals, it's probably not the best situation. So, I think it was right to wait, but like you said, the only reason they're talking to you because Bregman's definitely not coming back, but that's different. Once you lose Tucker, they didn't need to move him. Like, that wasn't necessary. Like, not getting Bregman makes a lot of sense because he's a free agent. That's when you get the most money. But Tucker going, that was like hey, that's your best player. So what are you guys doing over here? So it makes a lot of sense that it happened the way it did. And I think that the Astros kind of pieced it together pretty well. And I think they're in a good position. I think that these guys are where they need to be. And I mean, look at the Cardinals are playing well, and Arenado's it's working out that he stayed there. So it's kind of working out for everybody so far.
Yeah, my only disagree part here is that the Astros are still good, and I feel like you could have recognized that. I don't think that they were suddenly going to rebuild. I mean, they've done a really nice job of competing for a long time now. Their owner doesn't want to rebuild, and they spend money too. So they weren't going to spend $500 million on Kyle Tucker, so then they made the decision, hey, this is the time, and they, I think, made a really good deal. Paredes looks really good right now. He's off to a great start.
On base Bourbon and Baseball is telling us, yelling at us in the chat that his numbers are better than Bragg's.
Paredes?
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. Don't disagree. Where's he at right now?
I don't know. I haven't
35 OPS plus, 801 OPS, 375 on base, 3 homers, 9 RBIs. Everyone was excited to see what he would look like with the Astros.
Of course.
Pull hitter, Crawford boxes. Let's see a full season of it, but yeah, it's a good move. My only thing was, if you're Nolan, like, they weren't going to be a bad team.
No, he just didn't want to go there.
Yeah,
that's his
fine.
right. If you have the no trade, you use it. I told you when I was with the Braves 1 year, my first year, they came up to me and said, we might want to move you. And I said, well, as long as it's not to Seattle, okay. And then they found out they were trying to trade me to Seattle.
So epic.
I nixed it by accident without even knowing. But that's a different. But I mean, if you have 10-5, like I remember the day I got 10-5. Oh, it was like party time in Chicago, because I'm like, they can't do nothing.
You're in control.
I have all the power, and that's what Nolan Arenado has. He deserves it. I mean, 10 Gold Gloves and all the things he's done special. Probably a Hall of Famer. Like, he's got the power, and if he wants to say no to Houston, he doesn't want to go there. He doesn't have to explain. He could just be like, you know what? I don't want to go to Houston. Figure it out why.
Right, and then end it, and then it's not the topic of the entire offseason for the Cardinals, but that's what it was. Can you imagine, Trevor, if you're in the front office, you have to go to AJ, and you're like, all right, you're the guy. You go to him and talk to him about this trade situation. And then AJ's like, yeah, that's cool, just not Seattle. And they're like, damn it, that's what we figured out.
And I just meant it because, I was in Atlanta. I was in Atlanta. I'm from Florida. I didn't want to go all the way to Seattle. Not that I love Seattle. I love playing there.
Yeah.
I love hitting there. I love the batter's eye. But I just didn't want to go from Atlanta to Seattle. My family's in Florida. Like, that's a long-ass flight. So it was just funny that it ended up that's where they were trying to trade me.
That's funny. That's good. All right, let's get to Ken Rosenthal. We'll swing right back on FT. Our resident twin specialist, Trevor May, is with us today. So They had the lowest attendance announced for any home game since April 30th, 2002.
I was there.
AJ remembers it like it was yesterday.
When did we played?
We've got, shame on me. We've got our Twins duo today. But Trevor, they're off to their worst start in franchise history. I know it's early, but they're 5-12. It seems like frustration is already boiling there, not just with the team, but with the fan base. What do you think of what's going on there?
Yeah, a lot of turmoil happening, especially I think it started with the collapse last year, and then they had the ownership saying we want to sell the team, and still kind of wondering what's happening there. It's just a lot of the fans are, okay, let's wait and see. It's a place that's usually really stable. They don't, no one leaves. All the staff's been there for the whole time. Same staff's there now that was there when AJ was there and was there when I was there. So it's a very loyal place. So for the fans to kind of send this message is concerning. It is surprising this is the worst start they've ever had, because I was on the 16 team that went 0-9 to start the season. But evidently we won more than 5 of our first 17 games. So unfortunately we ended that season 59-103. So let's hope that this is not one of those situations. This team is much more talented than we were. I don't think we were expecting to be that good that year. This team is definitely way underperforming their expectations. But when attendance starts to notice, especially in Minnesota, you notice, as a player, you're like, this is not normal for here. Even when it's cold, 10,000 people is low.
By the way, we played the Rays that day, the Devil Rays, back when they were known as the Devil Rays. Kyle Loesch started for the Twins, and Ryan Roop started for the Devil Rays, and we beat them 6-3. I was 1 for 4. Guess how many pitches I saw in 4 at-bats?
4.
6.
6 pitches. Yep. 6 pitches, 6 strikes. I must have probably swung at them all. But I got 1 hit. I snuck in a hit, scored a run. And I also threw out Greg Vaughn stealing. Ooh, Greg Vaughn. Yes, he had to be 72 years old in 2002, but I threw him out stealing. So
he tested you.
Yeah, he tried. He tried. But some of these names are classic. Brent Abernathy, Toby Hall, Jason Conte, Ben Grieve. These are some names on this list here.
Right?
Yeah.
But not good now. Not good.
No. And the attendance that day was 10,205.
They're one of those teams that needed to start out hot based off of everything Trevor just said. And it's very cold right now. They're missing guys, but so are a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, Lopez is out. Royce Lewis is out. Correa is off to a really slow start. Let's hit the inside scoop with FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal. Ken, I listened to Fair Territory this morning, and you gave us a little taste of your article about managers that could be on the hot seat this season. We're going to dive into a few of those, if we may. And I want to start with the St. Louis Cardinals, because if AJ didn't read your article, I think he might be surprised to hear about your plan for what could happen, or your theory for what could happen with the Cardinals if Oli Marmol ends up losing his job. So I'll cue you up on this one, Ken. Do you think that Marmol could actually stay with the organization if Skip Schumacher took over?
I do. And obviously it would be an unusual situation, and he might not want to stay, but he and Schumacher are close. And if you remember, Schumacher was on his staff in 2021, his first staff. So if they make a change, and I'm assuming they will, obviously if they have a great year, things might change, but they're going to have a new head of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom. He's going to take over for John Mozeliak, and generally speaking, a new head of baseball operations wants his own person in there. What's also interesting about the Cardinals is you've got 2 former Cardinals greats, and I mean greats, future Hall of Famers, who want to manage in the big leagues. I'm talking about Yadier Molina and Albert Pujols. I don't know how you choose between them, if you choose between them. So from that perspective, maybe Skip Schumacher is kind of a compromise candidate, even though he's not an all-time Cardinal great. He was a Cardinal. He was on their coaching staff. And certainly, as a former National League Manager of the Year, he is someone who will have great appeal to any team making a change going forward.
You forgot about another Cardinal great you should throw on that list that Chaim should call, Ken.
I did forget that one, yeah. The one I'm talking to.
Yeah, me. Yeah, me.
I know
Call me,
who
Chaim.
I'm talking about.
Call me, Chaim. We'll talk. Ollie would definitely stay on my staff because we went to the same high school, Ken. I don't know if you knew that or not. But I don't know that. I mean, listen, I think Ollie would stay. I know that. I do, because he's been a Cardinal like his whole life, right? It's kind of like Schilt. It's like Brian Snitker. Like, there's certain guys until Schilt got the job and then they fired him, and then he obviously left and went on to bigger and better things with San Diego. But I just think Ollie doesn't know anything else. And there's certain people that are just meant to look at Descalso coming back, right? John Jay coming back. I think Ollie Marmol would seriously think about, I don't know if he would be on, if it was Schumacher's staff, but I think he would definitely probably stay in the organization in some capacity if they wanted him to.
It's an interesting question. And again, it's hypothetical, as these discussions always are. Who knows which way the season might turn? Who knows what Chaim Bloom might have in mind? He might have somebody else that we're not even talking about in mind to be the next manager. Maybe he wants Ollie Marmol to be his next manager. I don't know. But it just seems to me that, logically speaking, we know when a new guy takes over in any business, in any walk of life, wants their own people. That's what new people want. So we'll see how
Well, sorry, we had a little bit of a hiccup there. My fault. Okay, I have a question, Ken,
good.
about two of the other guys you mentioned in your piece, and they manage for teams that really haven't seen much success with them at the helm, but they've been there for a while. That's Bud Black and that's Derek Shelton. You mentioned with new heads of maybe president of baseball operations coming in. Usually they want their own guys. So if these two guys are on the hot seat, having been at the helm for some teams that have not been good for a while, what do you think that is they might bring in a top down? This could be a top down thing, or could it just be like they hit the threshold for not being able to win in the games? They want to go with somebody else.
I think we got a little.
Trevor, I'll answer as Ken.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not really sure because I haven't really dug into this, and I don't listen to AJ. So I have decided that I'm not going to answer this, Trevor, because I just don't know.
We'll get Ken back.
Well, okay. Teach their own. Teach their own. God, that was a good question, too.
It was a great question.
That was good.
I think that, Trevor, you know this. Anytime a new president of baseball ops or new general manager comes in, they usually give the manager a little bit of time. Now, Chaim's been there. This is his second year with the Cardinals, so we've seen Ollie for 2 years now, right? But if somebody comes in, whether it's in Pittsburgh or whether it's somewhere else, they usually give them a little bit of time. Now, if the manager's a free agent or at the end of his contract, then all bets are off. But normally they give him a little bit of time to assess, and they'll fire him in the first year and be like, kick rocks. I don't know. Ken, your thoughts?
Got it.
First of all, AJ, I heard your mock imitation of me. It was weak. Trevor, I'm not sure which teams you were asking about, so I thought maybe you mentioned Pittsburgh was one.
Pittsburgh and Colorado. So
Pittsburgh and Colorado,
Black
yeah.
Yeah.
They're two teams that operate a little bit differently. I'll put that as politely as I can. Colorado in particular, they seem to be in their own parallel universe to the rest of the sport. Bill Schmidt took over just a couple of years ago. I don't expect that he would be in trouble. And Bud Black, as I wrote, is one of the most respected people in the game. And everybody likes him there. No one wants to embarrass him or anything like that. But it's fair to ask whether it's time for a new voice, a fresher voice for those younger players that they're kind of bringing into the mix here. And I mentioned the third base coach, Warren Schaefer, who managed some of these guys in the minor leagues and certainly would be that kind of profile. He would be a Rocky internal hire. They love that kind of thing there. They don't like to go outside, heaven forbid. So that's one thought. Pittsburgh is a little bit more complicated in my view. The owner, Bob Nutting, has said that he expects better results. He said that before last season. He said it before this season. It's the 6th year for the general manager, Ben Cherington, and the manager, Derek Shelton. They're not getting better results. Now, the number one reason for that, in my opinion, is the owner and his unwillingness to fund the team the way he should, major league payroll. But at the same time, if he is expecting results and quote unquote demanding results and they're not being produced that way, then it stands to reason he could make a change. Maybe it's just Cherington, maybe it's just Shelton. More likely it would be the manager before the general manager, but it's hard to predict what Bob Nutting might do, and it's hard to even really get a gauge on where they are when the general manager isn't really allowed to operate the way other general managers are, and the manager is working for a GM who is under restrictions and an ownership that doesn't let the team be the way it should. That is what makes it difficult to judge.
Okay, enough about the bad teams, Ken. I want to know, and I'm going to have a follow-up for you. Who's the best team in baseball right now?
I was watching San Diego last night, and they look pretty good. They've yet to lose at home, and I'm surprised a little bit by them because obviously they didn't have a very active offseason. They still have great players, of course. Tatis is playing out of his mind right now. But they have pitched extremely well. The back end of their bullpen's really good. So if I had to choose, maybe it's recency bias because I watched them come back on the Cubs last night, but I'll go with the Padres.
Okay, and then how do you judge that? Because we have this argument all the time with Scott, like run differential, your eyes, player-wise. How do you, Ken Rosenthal, judge, in your opinion, who you think is the best team in, let's say, your power rankings right now? Because I need help with my power rankings.
Well, it's not run differential, and I heard your discussion about this. This early in the season, especially, run differential is essentially meaningless. The Cubs won by 16 the other day. The Rays won by 14 or 15 yesterday. That skews run differential. It makes it impossible to judge at this point in the season by that, if at any point in the season. I kind of judge it by, obviously, a team's performance, record, and look at kind of how they're playing. Some teams are not producing a great record yet, but you know they're better than they are. I think Boston is better than they've shown, right? But in sheer performance, you have to look at the Padres. You have to look at the Giants, the way they're playing. And those teams right now do look like the best teams in baseball, and I'm not sure really there's anyone close. The Dodgers obviously started really well, went through a slide, and now after last night, perhaps they rally again. They're going to be really good. We all know that. But right now, the best team in baseball, especially at Petco Park, where they're undefeated, that's San Diego.
Okay, and then last thing, who did you pick to win the American League?
Who did I pick? I picked the Texas Rangers, who have not hit a lick.
Okay, so I picked the Red Sox. They're doomed. I picked the Braves. You picked the Braves, so I know they're doomed. Can we change our picks?
AJ, we can do whatever we want. It's a free country. I just tend to forget my picks and hope no one is embarrassing me at the end of the year. But that's the reality.
I was going to say, Ken chooses to maybe, you forget about him. I know that's not your favorite thing, predictions, Ken. So let me get back to some business and some news here. What?
Those are fun questions for Ken.
I agree.
Okay.
But fact or fiction, Ken, you hate predicting.
Well, that's fact.
That's all. People want to know Ken. Ken does not.
And the reason is, Scott, you know what I always say? I repeat this all the time. Tell me who's going to get hurt. Tell me who's going to get traded, and I'll do a much better job predicting. But you can't tell me those things. I don't know what's going to happen. No one does. And that's the beauty of the game. So we all have fun with predictions, of course, but I don't ever pretend mine are any better than anybody else's.
And don't worry,
He's
fans.
supposed to tell us who's getting traded, though. He's the insider.
True. Well,
he makes baseball come alive.
Well, true. Well, then let's ask him about that. Do you think that Sandy Alcantara could be the first guy traded here, or I know Will Salmon wrote about this in The Athletic in the past 24 hours. Or do you think the Marlins are going to let this one simmer for a little bit?
Good question. The difference, as Will wrote, between Alcantara and some of the other players they've traded in recent years, Arias most notably, is that he has more years of control left. So they might be hesitant to move him and thinking, well, we can keep him as long as we possibly can, drive the price up. We have the years of control, so we don't have to do anything. We all know the Marlins are going to do this. I don't think there's any secret about that. It's just a matter of when. Could he be the first one traded? Yes, but I also believe teams are going to want to see more. They're going to want to see him keep pitching. He's coming off Tommy John surgery, of course, and they don't want to base this off a handful of, 6, 7 starts, whatever the case might be. There needs to be more of a body of work for teams to be convinced that he's back to where he was. He's looked good so far, but a little inconsistent. So I expect him to be traded. I just don't know that it'll be that early.
I want to check in a little bit on a lot of the things that happened in the offseason. That we had all the free agent signs, all the trades and stuff. In my opinion, and I want to get your take on this, Kyle Tucker going to the Cubs was one of the best moves at the time, and I think it's played out that way to maybe be the most valuable moving player. Would you agree with that sentiment, or is there another maybe signing that you think has worked out even better for another team?
Actually, Trevor, that trade looks like it's great for both. And Kyle Tucker has transformed the Cubs. And as I mentioned, I was watching that game last night. I don't remember if it was Boog Shambi or Rick Sutcliffe who said it, but what they said was they knew the Cubs offense would be better with Tucker. How can it not be? But the transformation has been kind of astounding. They're leading the National League in runs scored. He's a big part of that. He's playing at an MVP level. So are a lot of other guys in the National League right now, Tatis, a few others, but he has been monumental to that team thus far. Now, what I was going to say about the rest of the trade is that Cam Smith looks like he's going to be a star for Houston. Hayden Wesneski has pitched well for the Astros as well. And you guys talked about Paredes. So it looks like one of those deals that's really good for both. But yes, Tucker has been that important an addition. And it kind of shows you guys how one player, you can't value him for his statistics alone. You have to value him for what he brings to a lineup and how he can transform a lineup. And that's what Tucker has done. It's been kind of a multiplier with what he has accomplished so far, in that it's extended to the rest of the team.
Ken, Kris Bryant went on the IL with degenerative disc degeneration. I forget what the triple D. What was it? Degenerative disc. I don't know. I forget what the third D was. But is this career threatening for him? I know since he's gone to Colorado, he hasn't been what we thought he was going to be for his career. But is this something that could possibly be career threatening for Kris Bryant?
And it's disease, Ken. Sorry, just to throw in. So degenerative disc disease in his lower back. Go ahead.
When I saw that, that was my initial thought. Wow, that sounds really bad. But reading the accounts this morning from the Rockies beat writers, it sounds like the Rockies expect him back in relatively short order, that this is something he has dealt with. He's had back issues for a while. My understanding is it's multiple discs. And certainly, as you guys know, I don't have to tell you, playing in that condition is really difficult. But it does not sound, to answer your question, AJ, like it's career threatening. Obviously, it's debilitating to him. It's tough on him, I'm sure, mentally as well as physically. But again, from what I read this morning, it did not sound like it's career threatening.
That's great news. That's awesome news. So for anybody, you never want to hear an end of that. All right, last thing, because I don't know if you discussed this on Fair or not, or I don't know when we're going to have you on, or I'm going to get to talk to you again. But I want to know, did you see the Juan Soto quotes that came out today in the New York Post about and everywhere about, man, it's different when I don't have the best guy hitting behind me? Thoughts on this? And does this make you happy as a Met fan after you sign him to a $765 million contract?
I did see the quotes. I understand why people might be upset to read that. In my view, he was speaking matter-of-factly. He was just saying, I'm getting pitched differently. I don't have that guy, Aaron Judge, behind me anymore. Even though he's got the best hitter in the game right now, Pete Alonso, hitting behind him. He was just noting that it's different for him. I didn't take it as complaining. I didn't take it as regrets. I just thought it was kind of a matter-of-fact statement. And it's true. He is getting pitched differently. So I'm sure this will be quite the topic of discussion in New York. I'm not so sure that it should be.
Oh, yeah. This is great radio
Way to kill
fodder.
the lead, Ken. Way to kill the lead on
This
New
is
York radio.
such
Seriously.
radio
AJ, what do
fodder.
you think? Do you think this was a big deal?
I just think it's interesting that he says this.
If you're Pete, tell us the player perspective.
Listen, if I'm Pete, I know I'm not Aaron Judge, but I'm just like, man, dude, you just signed the biggest contract of all time. You're supposed to be that guy. You're Juan Soto. You're supposed to be the best hitter in baseball. You just signed the biggest contract of all time. Like, why should it matter who's hitting in front of you, behind you? You think Barry Bonds cared? Only thing that mattered for Barry Bonds was he got pitched differently with the guy behind him. But he always said the guy in front of him was more important because if there was a guy on first, they wouldn't walk him.
One other thing here, AJ. As a reporter, we always want players to be transparent and honest and talk about what they're feeling. And then at times, this kind of thing happens, and we crush them for being what we asked them to be. I never think that's entirely fair, and I certainly understand why people might think he should have kept that to himself. In fact, John Heyman wrote that in the New York Post. It's fine to think what he's thinking, but he should have kept it to himself. I agree, but I also don't think reporters should ever be telling players, don't talk. So here's a guy who talked, who was honest, or at least in his view, he was honest, and it seems to me it would be a little unfair to crush him for that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not crushing him. I love the honesty from players. I'm not crushing him at all. I'm just thinking he asked me.
No, I know you're not.
What I was thinking,
But I know
if
people will.
if I was Pete Alonso, I'm like, dude, we just signed you for $765 million. That's supposed to be you, dude.
If I'm Pete Alonso, I'm raising my eyebrows, put it that way. But at the same time, they're performing really well for the most part. He's doing fine. He's not doing like amazing, but he's fine. His on base is 400. So to me, this is a much ado about nothing for the most part.
Except in New York. Trevor, except in New York. Except in New York.
Classic. Except in New York.
Exactly. Well, Pete's off to a great start, by the way.
Pete
Check
is.
out his numbers. Ken, thank you. Great convo. We'll catch you on Fair Territory on Thursday.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Fair Territory live every Thursday. Fair Territory, of course, also just came out yesterday. If you want to check that out, lots of topics hit, including Ken's perspective on Trout versus the fan over the weekend. We didn't ask him because he already talked about it. So check out the show later on, wherever you get your shows or your pods like YouTube, Apple, etc. Okay, so we're working with Arena Club all season long as we rip slab packs, which you can do digitally, and then you get the card in your showroom, right? You know the deal by now, but we want to start inserting some other layers to this conversation. So, Trevor, you're on with us today, and we found a card that you would like. We looked for yours. We didn't have success, but we looked pretty quickly. So I was like, you know what? Actually, let's pivot. Let's find a current player right now, because I know we're always looking for rookie cards, and I'm going to show you the guy that we came up with that you could buy on Arena Club right now and then have that in your showroom and, of course, have that card as well. I know you like Shea Langeliers. You're a big Shea guy, right?
Langeliers, actually, is what he goes by. That guy, yeah, I would love to have one of his cards. That's sick.
So
you can buy it right now for $36.
You can. You can add it to the
That's
cart.
a
You can make an
steal.
offer. It is, right? I mean, you think he's going to have a really good career? That's a Bowman Chrome Blue Refractor card right there.
Mint plus
I got 30
9.5.
pumps again this year, man. The guy's going to hit homers. Get in,
Dude,
get
in
in on the ground floor.
Sacramento, I think everybody's going to hit 30 pumps this year.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll take it if I'm on the team. I'd love
Exactly.
to.
You've seen it,
Trevor, this year.
Trevor,
Okay.
you've seen that ball flying between Steinbrenner and whatever Sacramento Stadium are. There's going to be lot of runs scored.
Yes, and that'll continue all year in Sacramento. Steinbrenner might actually even out a little bit when it gets humid, but like Sacramento's just going to fly
only getting
farther
hotter,
and
by the
farther.
way. It's only getting
it's just
hotter
gonna
and
get
drier.
worse. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Welcome
going
to
to
the
go farther and
PCL.
farther.
Whether you're buying, selling, trading, or displaying, Arena Club is the card collecting platform that you should check out. So you can get 20% off your first slab pack or your first Shea Langeliers card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/FOUL. Use code FOUL. That's arenaclub.com/FOUL. Code is FOUL for 20% off your first purchase. We'll show you some more slab packs later on this week. Coming up next, Buck Showalter, who will make some regular stop bys throughout the season. You got to queue up that same question.
I want to know what questions he's going to ask Trevor and I, because there's one thing about Buck. When you have Buck on, he doesn't usually answer the questions. He always asks you a question back. So you're like, hey, Buck, what do you think about this? He's like, will you tell me what you think first? It's always a question back.
Yep.
It does feel like he hosts a little bit, which I like. I leave for 20 minutes. I watch the show in another room, and then I come back. Buck can command the room.
Oh, no doubt.
He is a media star in my mind.
By the way, those uniforms, those two, did you see the Dumb and Dumber comparisons? The Blue Jays and Orioles are hilarious.
Oh, when they're wearing the blue and the orange. Hot corner time, and we might take this topic right into our next guest, but let's start with you guys. Buster Posey takes over the San Francisco Giants baseball operations department, and there was a really good story, or just good back and forth with media in Philadelphia yesterday, talking to some of the players about his role. Bryce Harper steals the show with his quote right off the jump. He says, "He's got my dream job." And he said, being able to be president of an organization, really cool opportunity for him. Obviously, one of the best to ever do it behind the plate. goes over the accolades, and then he says, I think he's just going to do a lot of really cool things over there and kind of let everybody do their jobs as well. I think that's a big thing. Super excited for him. Trey Turner pointed out how he thinks that currently in the game, there's a real advantage for some old school methodology, analytics, whatever you want to call it, because he thinks that the game is getting so analytical. And that's a topic that's been going on for a long time, but he basically was bringing up the blend. So what do you think about what those two said?
First of all, I love that players are getting back involved because Chris Young, Greg Breslow, Buster Posey. Let's not forget Brandon Gomes. People always talk Andrew Friedman, but Brandon Gomes was a pitcher. And he's a player, and he's the GM for the Dodgers. Right? I love this. I think this is the way it's going to have to get back to. You have to have a mix. I think everyone I'm not anti-analytics, Trevor. Don't yell at me or anybody in Twitter world. But there has to be a mix. You have to have analytics, and you have to have people that have stepped into the box, because one of the biggest things for me as a player is being able to go to a coach, somebody in the organization, and say, what do you feel? I feel like this when I step into the box. It's the bottom of the ninth, and I have to face Trevor May. He's trying to close out the game, and I need to get a hit. I'm feeling this. How can you help me? And then they can say, well, I did that once, or I did this, or I had this feeling, and this is how I coped with it. I think that's a big thing for players today, is to have somebody in their space that they can have say, I did that, and I know what it feels like, and this is how you can help, and have different ideas. Is it data-driven? It can be. Is it feeling-driven? It can be. Is it mechanical-driven? It can be. But you got to have different options, and I don't think you go all one way or all the other way. You have to have a nice mix, and I think the really smart ones that have success are the ones that can do that the best.
So let's bring in Buck Showalter, who obviously has worked with many different front offices throughout his career. Buck joining us right now on FT to keep this combo going. Buck, you got us? What's up?
Hey, guys. Hey, Trevor. How you doing, man?
Good, Buck. Good to see you, man. I'm glad we get to do this together. This is awesome.
You know how you get a guy towards the end of his career and you know it's there, and his body won't cooperate, but his heart's there. And every once in a while, Trevor would show it to me, and I'm like, dang, it's got to be frustrating for him, because you know it's there, but the body just wouldn't cooperate. He was a good one, man. And you know what about Trevor? Trevor wasn't scared, guys. He wasn't scared. Here it is, man. See what you can do with it. Here's mine. Show me yours. Okay, I'm done.
Okay.
You can keep going.
All right, so I'm going to ask.
I'm good with it. You guys good with it? No? All right.
Yeah.
Trevor's like, yeah, keep talking about how great I am.
He's
I love
handsome. He's got a great hat.
Yeah.
No, but I'm with you, Buck.
His hat matches Buck's wall. We get it.
Yep.
Buck, did you see the Juan Soto conversation today about what he said about Aaron Judge not hitting behind him, and how it's harder for him now, and how it's not as easy with the best hitter in the world not hitting behind him? What'd you think of those quotes? Because you managed in New York a couple different times. How important is lineup construction?
It is to a point, but I think it becomes a crutch sometimes. I think I don't. What happened before in years past, and who was there, and anything that reflects on my teammate or anything, I really choose my words very carefully, because somebody is hitting behind him now. And there's always those, anytime you start making comparisons between teammates that you've had in the past and whatever, that usually doesn't play well. It may be innocent. It may be something that, you didn't mean the context in which it came out, but once you put it out there, they're going to run with it. So I would be very careful about reflecting on things I had before that I don't have anymore. How's that?
Very well put. Buck, I got some questions about what it's like to be on the hot seat as a manager. As we know, the Twins ended the year not so great last year, and they started this year not so great. Just goes, Rocco Baldelli's got to be thinking about some of this stuff and what his future looks like. If you started a season like this and you came out with much higher expectations than what you're seeing on the field, at what point, at what point do you feel like you need to act and act quickly? Is this like a right away, hey guys, let's figure this out? Or is it, how long do you give your team time to breathe before you start to go flip some chairs?
Well, first of all, you got to be sincere. Nothing plays more quickly than a phony in a locker room. You're around each other too much. If you do something that's not sincere, players players realize that in a heartbeat, and they really don't want to think that you're panicking behind the scenes. So, we talk about hot seats. Players are on a hot seat, so to speak. I mean, we all have expectations. The managers and coaches aren't any different. The front offices have a little bit more of a line. So I just think in today's world, the shelf life of managers and coaches is so much shorter because no one wants to play the long game much anymore. They want to play the short, what have you done for me lately, instant gratification. Friday is casual day and all the different things that go on. That's fine and dandy, but at some point they can't. Every manager understands the job description and where it might end. And it's not always fair. Trust me, it's not always fair, but you understand that going in that at some point your time is going to be done. I've been in places 8, 9 years. I've been in places 2 years, 3 years. It's just, things change. And it's uncomfortable for families. It's uncomfortable for people that are reading all this stuff, but it's what they do. And it's the job description. And you should not be dealt with any easier than players. Every day players come in, especially ones with options, and you're traded, all the other different things that go on. It's a very volatile job. And I think you understand the job description going in.
Buck, what's it like being a manager on the hot seat? You've been there. Is there a moment when you realize, hey, I'm going to get fired soon? Is there a switch in the way someone talks to you? Is there a switch in the way you feel when you go to the park? Every day you go to the park, do you feel, gosh, I have to win to try to save my job? I mean, you've been through it all. What's it like being one of these guys that people are talking about their jobs and we're only in April?
I didn't personally. I realized every day, AJ, I woke up how lucky and honored I was to do what I did coming from my background. And every day, this is not just some cliche. I didn't want the player's job to be any harder because what I might personally be going through. And they didn't wish that on anybody. I think the challenge is to continue to treat people the same and treat them fairly. And that golden rule works pretty good, and regardless of your personal situation, I tried to go out of my way. A lot of players would tell you when we were doing poorly, I was actually more upbeat, and when we had won 6 or 7 in a row, you want to be on top of things so you continue. A baseball season is stretching out the good times and shortening the bad ones because, a team that wins 100 games still loses 62. It's just I don't think the people that haven't been in the arena don't understand the emotional and mental ebbs and flows of the season.
Buck, what was your go-to move? Was it flipping a table? Was it breaking a fungo? Was it yelling and screaming, slamming a door? What was Buck Showalter's, I'm going to show these guys, go-to move?
What would I be showing them, AJ? What
I don't know. Sometimes managers just want to see, look how angry I am, guys, so I'm going to throw the table with food. Or I'm going to yell at somebody because just to show them.
No, it was. I didn't really have a lot of that. If it ever happened, it was sincere and it happened. And I think spontaneity shows your true emotions. Sometimes we're always measured with the media and all the different things, but that's why I'm so protective of places where you can let your hair down and be a team. It's spring training. It's a bus. It's an airplane. Places where guys can be themselves because the locker room is basically an interview room most of the time. So. I didn't do a lot of that, AJ. We would talk among ourselves, and I would go, "What do you guys think? What's the issue? What should we?" You want to get input back from them and make them feel ownership of what's going on. But I tried to stay real, so to speak. Oh my gosh, he's trying to show us how mad he is. Well, try raising your children like that, and as a parent, and see how that works out.
So I get it. You learned this from John Russell, your old bench coach, because I had him in Florida State League, and one time he had a meeting. We were in Port St. Lucie, and he wasn't a man of many words either. And he said, we lost a game. And he's like, everybody in the locker room. And he just walks in there, and he just looks at us all, and he just walks out and closes the door. And we're all like, wait, what? Is he? I guess he's mad at us? Like, what just happened? He didn't even say a word. He just literally looked at us and went around the room and looked us all in the eye and then just turned and walked out. And we're like, I guess Dad's mad at us.
Guys, there's so many, as you guys know, there's so many emotions that are transferred with a look. with a it isn't always verbal, and see who can yell the loudest. You want to lose an argument with an umpire, go out there and scream and yell and not listen to a thing he's saying. Most of my arguments that I've won in baseball have been when I've kind of kept my composure and talked on a civil tone to these guys. But there's a time and place, and if you talk to enough people, I have had my moments, and but it was sincere. What you see is what you get. You don't want to come across as a phony. Oh my goodness, I've never seen this side of him. All of a sudden, you're going to win more games because the guy was yelling at you. And every once in a while, you got to put a little, in the giddy up and get a little. I don't like being too predictable. You know what I mean? You like to throw a little unpredictability out there every once in a while. Trevor, do we have any?
Did we? No. When you had something to talk about, you usually just went to the people that you needed to talk to about it with. Or if it was a team thing, you're like, Francisco, Max, come over here. We're going to fix this. And I feel like that worked really well. I think we won 40 more games than we lost that year. So I would say mission accomplished.
You remember the movie theater, right?
Yeah.
Go on.
Real quick.
Wait,
go on.
What?
Movie theater. I'm sorry. I'm confused now. What are we talking about?
Spring training, starting spring training off.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Continue.
Whoa.
Did you take the kids to the movie theater and get them popcorn and candy? I mean, what are we missing here? Clearly, it made a huge impression on Trevor.
I don't think
I'll be
Trevor was
honest.
there. Trevor may not have been there. The night before spring training, we go to a movie theater as a team.
Yeah, I was.
And talk about a lot of things without, AJ, I hated spring training first day when everybody's just ready to get on the field and get it started. You got your spikes on, you're all set. And what happens? The trainer, the traveling secretary, the manager, the hitting coach, the pitching coach, they all give this big spiel, whatever different departments they may have now. And you're sitting there for an hour at least. And I hated that. And I said, I'm not going to do that. So we did all that the night before at a movie theater, had a little movie we played, talked about what we want to do. And then when they got to the ballpark next day, all they had to worry about was baseball instead of all the other junk.
That's cool.
Yeah, I wasn't there. I remember why I wasn't. It took me almost 3 days to get down to Florida because I had 2 flights get canceled. And it was, I was in Houston for like 36 hours. So that's why I missed it. Okay, this all makes sense now. I do, speaking of also unpredictability, like you were mentioning before, we got to see the ABS system in spring. I want to get your take on it. How do you feel about how that was implemented? Do you like the challenge system as opposed to just robo umpires? Because I know I do. I know AJ does, but definitely want your take on it. AJ
does or doesn't?
He likes challenges much more than he likes just robo umpires, getting them on right all the time.
I hate to say this, but I agree with y'all. I think you're going to find out in a hurry can you imagine in the first inning? I may have the rules wrong, bear with me, but you find out very quickly who you can trust with, because in the first inning, first at bat, if somebody uses a challenge and he's not right and the rest of the team suffers, you're going to find out very quickly who has an idea about what they're challenging. I do like it. I think it's coming. And it's another way that fans can trust the game. They can trust that a ball's a ball, a strike's a strike, and no outside element is going to figure into the W or L. We're going to get it right. I still think we should review more things. And I don't know why they automatically say, well, that's unreviewable. Why? Let's get it right. There was an obstruction play the other night with Pittsburgh, and obviously a very good umpire missed the obstruction when 2 guys were laying in the foul line. The guy had to run around him. That should be reviewed.
Oh, just don't run into each other when you're catching a pop-up, and don't.
Well, that's what I said. I said, why are you going to penalize the offense because 2 guys didn't communicate very well?
I don't know. I don't know, Buck. It's amazing. They're all nice umpires now that you're not managing anymore. They're all great umpires. When you're managing, I guarantee you didn't say that. But when you're when Buck Showalter's sitting at home in his green room with his tube TV that he still has on, and you're trying to get the wires, the antennas right to watch the local game, what drives you crazy when you watch games at home? What's the thing you look and say, man, I wish they would change this?
Oh, I don't know. They've done a lot of things. I've been on those competition committees, and you find out when you go in there, go, why don't they do this? Why don't they do this? And you realize that they've been working on it for 2 years trying to get all the kinks out of it. I would probably say I wish they had somebody in good control of quality control of a ball game, where dugouts are the same home and away, where foul ground is similar, where the warning track is not 12 feet on one field and 10 on the next, where bullpen mounds are the same. They're not different heights or lengths or in different directions. I mean, when you warm up with Trevor had a good curveball. When you warm up into the wind, and all of a sudden you get on the field and you're throwing against the wind, it's a different curveball. Things like that, just quality control. The batting cages for the visiting team, just something that controls the quality and the consistency. Hey, you want to be an expansion team? You want to be a whatever, you have to meet certain criteria. Your fences have to be a certain height. They have to have certain padding on them. It's all about safety for me. Some of these spring training facilities, I know there's a field without naming it. I wouldn't take our veteran players on the road because it was a safety issue. I just think I'd like to see the quality control of a major league facility be consistent throughout the game. How's that?
That makes sense. All right, Buck, where were you in 1998?
I was starting the first year of the Diamondbacks.
Were you the manager of the Diamondbacks?
Yes.
Okay, because I was in AAA in Salt Lake City, and we went to Tucson.
Yeah,
you were talking about no, you were talking quality control. Now I want to know, and this is the truth, and you tell me if I'm lying. We had Paul Molitor on rehab, the only AAA games he ever played in his life. We're in Tucson. It's like August. It's 172 degrees in Tucson Electric Park down there. You guys had air-conditioned cages. You would not let us use the air-conditioned cages, and Paul Molitor was pissed. And he went out and hit for the cycle, by the way, in that game. His only AAA game he ever played in, he hit for the cycle at 45 years old. Why didn't you let us use those air-conditioned cages?
First of all, AJ, that's another myth that you've chose.
No, that is true. That is truth. They said, Buck Showalter said, you guys cannot use them. You have to hit outside.
Well, I think the manager then was Chris Spire, and he probably used me because he didn't want him to hit over there because I would always let Paul hit. Are you kidding me? I wouldn't do that.
Just Paul, not the rest of the team.
First of all, I would never do that if you know me. So that's another myth that you're perpetuating. And I would not. There's so many things there in Arizona about socks and hats that I laugh about now because we did none of that stuff. The only thing we did, we had a mannequin in the middle of the locker room the first year because we had 5 hats, 5 jerseys, 4 pants, 3 belts, 3 socks. Finally, I said, go down to Sears and Roebuck, buy a mannequin, put it in the middle of the locker room and dress it every day. But what happened, guys started messing around with the mannequin, so we had to get that out of
there. That's good.
Listen, that's a true story. I don't care what Buck says. Buck might say he didn't say it, but I know he said it. Because we were on the phone. And then you know what happened is we went back there. Because your Tucson team came to Salt Lake, and we had inside cages, and they said, we want to use the cages. We're like, no. Buck said no. And then next time we went to Tucson, guess who got the hit inside? The Buzz.
Definitely not true. Somebody must have used my name to get something done they wanted to do personally. So I would never do that to him or you. But they protected you in the expansion draft. I always wanted you on a club, but I could never get you. People used to go, look at him, and I go, why are you looking at him? You like to win. That's what I liked about you. You like to win.
And I like to hit inside an air conditioning when it's 147 degrees. Buck, speaking of winning, I'm going to Starkville this weekend. Now, you're a Starkville legend, Starkville, Mississippi. Florida, my team, is playing Mississippi State in baseball. Is there anything I need to see? Because I've never been to a game at Dudy Noble. So what do I need to experience while I'm at the Dude?
You could go out to left field lofts. They've led the nation, I think, in attendance for like 10 or 15 years in a row. I went back. I signed 2 contracts, one with the Yankees and one with my parents. I'd go back and finish my degree, which I did. Starkville, it was a dry county when I was there. I don't think it is anymore. You'll be impressed. Good facility. They've had a tough year so far, but they just had a good series. I follow them. Good food around there. Get there early, AJ, and soak in the atmosphere.
I can do that. It's not a dry county anymore.
I was going to say
it is far from a dry. It is a wet county now.
Yeah, not that I had heard that rumor that it was dry. but we didn't have time for that. I was Ron Polk's first recruiting class there, AJ.
Wow. I love Ron Polk. He's still around, man. He still walks around and says hi to everybody. He's amazing.
I think he's doing the color commentary. You'll see him there. Tell him I said hello. He's a legend. I learned a lot of baseball from him.
Buck, I got one more for you. I'm going to jump in. Did you see Trout, who obviously hasn't played much right field, but he jumps for the ball and the fan kind of grabs the baseball? Wasn't as egregious as what happened in the World Series, but do you think everything's fine? I mean, this stuff's been going on for a while, obviously. Contact with fans and players when they're jumping, trying to get a foul ball. Are you okay with the way that all played out?
Well, I go back to the quality control thing. There's a way to keep it from happening if you want to. You're trying to worry about the fans' experience. Like, we've got this netting up now all the way down the foul lines. And we all go, geez, why didn't we do this years ago? We've all been at batting practice or games where people just have gotten hit. Really, it's really ugly to see. And they fixed it. They could fix that. You don't want to move the seats back, but there's a way to put a barrier up there, so to speak, to keep that from happening in the outfield. And you could do it in foul ground down where that happened. But, the umpire got the call right by the way the rules are stated. Here's one where you got no foul ground at all down that corner, but you're trying to enhance the fans' experience by getting them close. But, why is this guy giving him a high five? I don't know. Look what I did. But could you imagine how ticked off you'd be if you were going to make that play? I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, it's
You
been
did
that
make
way.
the play.
You could fix it. You could fix it.
I said that. Put the nets up all the way down like they do in Japan. They have nets all the way down the foul lines, and you can't jump in the stands. But then fans complain, oh, it hurts our view.
I've been to Japan 2 or 3 times, and there's so many. I picked up some things over there. They do things. There's things you can pick up over there, and you go, gosh, why don't we do that? Why haven't we done that?
Cheerleaders.
Well, you said no. I think there's something else. they call it something else over there. But I love the way they take batting practice. I love the way they did their warning tracks. I picked up something in Korea, the way they did their warning tracks. If you look at opening day with the Diamondbacks, we did our warning track different. We did it. We stole it from a team in Seoul, Korea.
What'd you do?
Well, basically, you got X number of steps. When you're warning track, so you can look at the ball and know how close you are to the fence. That's why they should all be the same distance. Because if there's a 3-step warning track in one place and a 4-step warning track, it messes you up. So there, they had put grass about 6 feet and right next to the fence, so you could run on grass. You feel the center of a warning track, but as soon as you felt grass again, you had 1 step and a jump. And we had more great catches. Steve Finley loved it, Louis Gonzalez, and other teams were getting gator arms as they got close to the fence. But we couldn't keep the grass growing. There was no sunlight, so we ended up having to take it out. But it was fun for about a month.
Wow.
That's cool.
All right, that's cool. By the way, I can see you loving the 2 batting practice hitters at once, the way they do in Japan. You can get the guy from Mississippi State that throws with both arms, and he could throw to both guys at the same time.
You can get somebody killed there, too. The rule was, I talked to their guy, the rule was never, if you muff a ball, never go after it or pick it up. There's another one coming. It's rapid fire. I think it's a little too rapid, quite frankly.
BP?
Yeah, they do BP, and they hit 2 at the same. You hit 2 guys at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so 2 guys throwing and 2 guys hitting at the same time.
Wow.
You know what they had? They had, what do you call that thing when you play the piano that gives you the beat? What is it? Trevor knows, I know. It's called something metronome. They would play that over the loudspeaker at a certain pace, and you go fungo, pitch, fungo, pitch. And you never broke up that rhythm of the BP. And we used to do that with, we'd set a clock up for infield. If you want to do a fast infield, you put it at 4-1, 4 flat. And if you want to do a slow infield, you set it at like 4-6. It was the only way we could get some of the young 17, 18-year-old kids to slow their game down. Some of these kids would come out of the Latin Academy in Dominican, and they would be just so fast, we couldn't get them to slow them down. And so we slowed them down with a clock and said, I don't want you to get the ball over. See how long you can take to get the ball to first base. It was tough.
Wow. That's crazy. I didn't
This
know
is
that.
fascinating
Yeah, it
stuff
is.
to me. The stuff that Buck comes up with, he loves warning tracks. He loves
The detail,
uniforms.
attention to
He loves
detail.
mannequins. He
Yeah,
loves
yeah.
cheerleaders.
Yes. But we got
But
to jump.
AJ, you know what? Like you always look like we sit in a room. And you go, how do we slow this guy down? He's going too fast. And we had to come up as a coach. You have to come up with a way that you don't go, hey, slow down. You've got to give them something to slow them down. So we got a water polo clock from the Olympic coach. It was the only one that you could put outside, and if it rained, it was not a problem. And we would set it where the buzzer would go off at 0, and we'd start at like 4-3, 4-4, whatever. And that is how we got some of our kids, American and Latin, to slow down.
We hit all the word bingo in this one. That's cool,
Water
though,
polo.
Buck.
And
That
didn't
is
have
really
water
cool.
polo.
Buck, we got to jump, but this was awesome. Obviously, we're gonna have you swinging by here and there, so appreciate it. Great to have you on. We'll get you back soon.
Trevor, good to see you. Good man you got there. Don't mess him up.
We'll try.
Likewise,
Working
Buck.
on
Good
it.
talking.
Yeah, AJ and
see
me
you.
are pretty rough, as you know, Buck. Thank you.
Sure.
We'll talk soon.
God bless you guys. Take care.
You too. Appreciate you. Trevor is staying with us for at least 20 more minutes. Did you see this? So some people were pissed about Nico Hoerner on Sunday Night Baseball talking to the broadcasters, and then there was an in-between ball that fell. It didn't look like, I don't think anyone was going to get it, and fans start freaking out. Stop talking to the players. I'm like, shut up. I mean, but you guys tell me, how do you feel, right? Like if you were mic'd up, I mean, not in your spot, but do you think a second baseman or shortstop or an outfielder or whatever can handle it in a regular season game for one half inning?
I think it should be fine. I mean, listen, I don't know.
Does it bother you? Because it bothers
just-
some fans who are probably very
He wasn't
vocal
catching
about
that
it.
ball anyways.
Exactly.
Nobody got hurt. They didn't
That was
collide
right
because
play.
he couldn't hear. I don't know. That's almost an impossible catch anyways. I know Nico Hoerner's won some gold, but that's almost impossible. With the right fielder sliding like that, he peels off, so clearly he hurt him. That's almost, it had nothing to do with him being mic'd up. I like the guys being mic'd up. I don't like it when I'm talking to him, though, Trevor, on a broadcast, because we've done it a couple of times. And it's super awkward because one time we had, I think it was Tim Anderson, and we're talking to him as he's playing shortstop, and I'm like, please don't let him hit a ball to him. Please, no ball.
But that's
to him.
why fans are complaining, because they're like, I don't want to see a play. And then if he was even distracted for a moment, Trevor, fans are like, that could cost us our season.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because they asked him, because you couldn't hear him calling it, and they're like, did you not have anything on that? Neither one of them were confident, so neither one of them called it, which then one went high, one went low, and Nico said all that stuff, like that we handled that play exactly the way it's supposed to be played. And also, I want to give a little bit of credit to Carl Ravitch, who literally, the moment it was hit, he just stopped talking. Like, he knew the assignment. He's like, I am no longer, you do not need to worry about me anymore, and then let him kind of come back to his position before they continued this discussion. That's the best way to handle it. But I get the optics of it, but it's just like, it's just one of those things. And then later they have Miguel Rojas on, and they're like talking about whether or not the Lakers can win the NBA Finals. I'm like, we better hope there's not an error done right now, because they're not even talking about this game. So I think it's just collateral damage. Some stuff that's going to happen sometimes. I'm always interested if they were like, I would love to see them do a pitcher, but like not have it be a conversation. They could just hear him, because all of us talk to ourselves. We could even like say what we were going to throw, and like, because I did that when I pitched, I would say it out loud sometimes. I think that would be fun. Maybe there's opportunities for that, but I think outfielders are probably your best chance, because you have quite a big gap between the ball being hit and them having to like make the play where you could shut something down. Infielders a little different, a little tougher.
Yeah, with pitchers, you got to have the bleep button ready if they get squeezed. Let's go in the weeds. Jason Stark wrote an article that came out over the weekend about the Atlantic League, which is really the test league these days, the independent Atlantic League. They experiment. One of the things they're going to do this year that starts soon, April 25th, QR codes on baseballs. So if you're a fan and you end up with the baseball, you can smack that QR code and maybe get something fun out of it. It's almost like a giveaway, 50% off tickets. He was putting some examples for a future game, free parking, other ballpark perks, food discounts, free stuff, etc. Trevor, you're a pretty big tech guy. What do you think about a QR code on a baseball?
Love it. Love it. One of the best uses of QR codes there is, in my opinion. I mean, you get a ball and then there's some other like randomized thing in there. I mean, that's cool. And I think it's smart for independent league and even minor league teams if they wanted to do it, like to get people to come back and make it like a regular thing. They're always trying to find ways to get butts and seats in the smaller parks. So I'm all for it. And then it just like, it's completely open-ended. Like every team could do different stuff. You could have like games that are like have really high value stuff. If you want to like last game of the season, it's fan appreciation night and like the prizes are crazy good, right? I think it's a great idea, and I think it adds even a little bit more excitement around going and running after a foul ball for the kids, because there might be some like candy or something involved. And I knew when I was a kid and watching Little League games, I would always run for the balls because we get a snow cone if I turned it in. So yeah, bring that back. Bring that to independent ball. I love it.
Yeah, that's playing to your audience too. If you're trying to attract younger fans, they would be into that because you get the ball and then you also get to find out. It's almost like opening up a pack, right? What's behind this particular baseball, as long as the prize isn't too good, because then people might be fighting each other for the foul balls.
True. Well, they already do anyways.
True. What do you think? You like this, right?
I like it. If it's a way to do stuff.
It doesn't do anything wrong.
No, if it's a way to give away tickets or add a zero cleats that are flowery with flower bottoms and they're super light and super fun and super cool, I mean, I'm all for it. I think this is a way to grow the game. I'm all about growing the game and make people more engaged in the game. I don't want people to fight over baseballs.
Sure.
But
they already do. You're right.
They do anyways.
Yeah.
The guy fought Mike Trout for one the other day.
True.
Right? I mean,
it's my QR code. Well, you win a meeting with me in the tunnel.
See?
True. No, I think it's really cool. I didn't ever hear about that until Jason brought it up in the article, but it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's cool.
I'd be curious if there's someone that doesn't like that.
There's always
like
somebody
a purist
that doesn't like something.
Like, don't touch the baseballs. I want them to look the way they did in the 1800s.
But do they travel different when they went from Bud Selig to Rob Manfred's signature on them? That's different. More ink, less ink. Maybe.
Yep.
They changed them from National League and American League to just Major League Baseball. There's more ink.
And some people don't like change, but anyway, I think it's cool. That was a pretty easy one to cover. We all agree. It's awesome. We'll swing right back. We'll go over injuries suck, including the Kris Bryant and maybe a couple other things. Or maybe not. BetMGM Locks, AJ and me sit next to each other yesterday. We fall. I got hooked. 5-3 in mine. Where did you lose?
Both.
You lost both?
Sonny went 7. Only struck out, I think, 3 or 4, and Fromber pitched terrible.
You know what I was pissed about? I was calling that playback game last night. We were doing Pirates Nationals, and somebody in the chat was like, hey, one of your K props isn't looking good. I'm like, that's not mine. I was like, that's AJ's.
By the way, I did, I don't know what show it is, Alex Monaco yesterday, and he asked me, and I didn't do it. He goes, what are you looking for this weekend? I go, Scooble pitches twice, Detroit run line twice. He's pitching. First of all, the Brewers don't hit lefties, and he dominated them. And then he could pitch again on Saturday or Sunday, and I think it's against – I forget who it's against, but I'm like, there's a chance for 2 run line wins for Scooble. I don't know what the line is, but Pap went for one of them.
Yeah, well, they crushed yesterday, the Tigers. Pat Murphy actually said after the game, Trevor, that it's not fun to get blown out, and he thinks that they've had more of those already this year than they did all of last year. Still might be a good team this year, but they've had some really lopsided losses, which actually is probably going to affect their run differential.
I mean, if you're going to give it up, if everyone's going to pitch bad, everyone do it in the same game. Like that's what we would always say. Just we're all going to suck. Let's all just suck. And so it only counts for 1 loss. Let's not stretch this thing over weeks. And it's funny. You would think, based on the number of times they've been blown out this year, that they're terrible. But they're still like 500. Like they have a much better record than it seems like they do after the torpedo bat fiasco and then these recent games. But I think they're going to hang around and they're going to be just fine. But they need to clean it up a little bit. This is happened a few too many times this early season.
Agreed.
And you seem like crap. You also like the Phillies, as we can see from the thing behind you. So, I mean, man, I didn't know. I thought Kratz was on vacation. All of a sudden, Trevor Kratz.
Oh, yeah, Phillies.
I mean, I was drafted by the Phillies, and I'm going to tell you right now, that's actually way nerdier than you think it is. That is a World of Warcraft photo that is in the baseball logo style that I was given for my birthday one year. So yeah, it's a super nerdy video game. The Netherlight Priests is what it actually says, but good catch. I was also drafted by the Phillies, by the way. So just so you know.
Yeah, it looks like a Philly. I don't know what World of Warcraft is. Scott probably plays that at the raves, but I don't know what that is. Is that the game Kurt Schilling tried to start and lost all his money doing?
No.
Oh.
No, that game never got off the. That actually was a great game. I will say it. It was a game for a while, and then it wasn't.
Yeah. All right, we're back.
Trevor's like, what else is on my wall that I should be worried about?
I'm looking around like, what else I got? He's going to point out.
Let's just do this for a quick minute, and then I want to get to something else. But Kris Bryant, we talked about it already, has this degenerative disc disease. So hope he does, get over this. But I'm starting to worry that this could be his
Isn't this
career.
been the thing
This
that's
sounds
plagued him
really
for
serious.
a while now? Back.
Yeah.
It's always back hamstrings. They're kind of connected.
The discs are deteriorating.
But don't you feel like, I don't know, I'm gonna let Trevor talk on this. Don't you feel like every player you would, especially a hitter or a golfer that swings, would have some sort of backy, degenerative, disky thing? And also like a pitcher, if you went in and did an MRI on every pitcher's elbow and shoulder, there'd be something in there? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's about whether or not it bothers you at the end of the day. This is giving me really like Miggy Cabrera changes in the knee like vibes, right? You don't want to hear disease attached to any IL stint because that usually means chronic and that there is no, we don't know if there is a future for it or whatever. It's just going to be there. You don't want to hear that as a player. You want to hear that as a fan. You want to hear that as a front office. But yeah, it's not been a good go for him in Colorado, and this is just another thing. So hopefully there's some rehab new program he can get on with this understanding of what it is now. But yeah, it's you're right though. Everyone has something. It's just whether or not you manage it well or you build a bunch of strength around the compensation so you can deal with it. I mean, I had a bone scan on my right arm looking for a stress reaction, and my humerus like 3 times as thick as my other one. They're like, huh, that's crazy. I'm like, well, I've been throwing for 17 years, so maybe that's it. So they're always kind of hesitant to check you out too closely because there's all kinds of stuff in there that it's hard to tell what's the problem and what's just you being a weird because you've done the same motion over and over again for your entire life.
Yeah, I mean,
Scott has that problem.
Which one?
Same motion over and over again.
Showing up here.
His whole life.
He's still got a lot of time left on his deal, Bryant.
He does.
Well, he's rich. He's gonna be fine.
He's very rich.
He's rich. 7,182.
Taking care of himself. He's gonna be fine. But yeah, it's unfortunate, and it got to be frustrating as hell for him. Like just not feeling
Year
good
4
ever.
No. Year 4.
Are we going to look back, and this is not a personal attack at all on Kris Bryant. Are we going to look back and say this was a bad contract that he signed, one of the worst?
Pretty bad.
Because he hasn't played a lot at all.
Well, what's worse, this or Rendon?
That's kind of my question.
Close.
Strasburg?
I put Strasburg in a little bit of a different category. Like these are guys that signed with new teams. Strasburg did give the Nats a lot. They, I guess, made the mistake of keeping him on board and then also not getting any insurance tied to it. I don't know if they could. I don't know if there was even an option there based on some past injury history. But Trevor, which one is a bigger disappointment? Rendon with the Angels or Bryant with the Rockies?
I'm going to go with Rendon simply because the Angels sign guys and they try like it seems like they're trying to build a winner. I mean, Chicago or Colorado, it felt like we got to check this box. It's like that a lot with them. And honestly, I don't feel it happens in Colorado constantly. Guys go there and then they just disappear. Kyle Kendrick went there on a deal and we didn't see him again. We had the Wade Davis and the McGee and the Brian Shaw all went there and it just did not work out for any of them. and it was astronomically bad. So like Colorado just kind of has that reputation of really not panning out for a lot of guys, but the Angels don't. So I would say the Rendon one might be a little bit more disappointing.
In 4 years, this is his fourth year, he has a negative WAR, 1.6 WAR in Colorado. Kris Bryant does. The most games he's played is 80 games. His OPS is 695. His OPS plus in Colorado. Now, this is in Colorado, 84 in 4 years.
I mean, that's worse production than Rendon. His Baseball Reference WAR from 2020 through 2024 is 3.9 over whatever amount of seasons. Not great.
Yeah, I mean,
that's more than I had my whole career. This stinks. I would never have said that.
Year before he signs,
he
puts up a 7.3 in Washington.
But I mean, before he went to Colorado, Kris Bryant was All-Star, MVP, Rookie of the Year, All-Star. So he's a 4-time All-Star, Rookie of the Year, MVP, World Series champion. And then he goes to San Francisco for that little bit of time for, 51 games. And then he signs this big deal with Colorado. And since then, he's just been injured, man. It stinks. Because I wanted to see the good Kris Bryant.
These deals are what some teams will point to when they say, oh, we can't invest in a player like that. It just is what it is, right? These are the bad ones. All right. We'll swing right back and do slap hands. BetMGM Locks. AJ, you're up first.
Oh my gosh, I have the longest one ever. No, I'm just kidding. Hunter Brown over strikeouts. Dodgers Rockies over strikeouts or runs. And Spencer Schwellenbach over 4.5 punch-outs. And that gets me to plus 534, I believe.
It is. And Brown is 5.5 Ks to go over.
5.5 Ks, Schwellenbach 4.5 Ks, and over. I figured the Dodgers got to break out and have like a 10 spot on offense one of these days.
Right? Like, I thought it was going to be yesterday, maybe.
I thought it was too. And Mookie hit the home run early, and you're like, oh, here they go. And they still only scored 5. I'm just waiting for this. I think today's the day when they're playing the Rockies again. I think Feltner's pitching, nothing against Feltner. But, he does a lot of changeups. Shohei likes to hit changeups. We'll see.
100 to win 534?
Yeah, I'll take that.
Okay. I'm going to go nice and simple. Mets minus 120 to win 100. The Twins with Bailey Ober, who recovered after a bad first start of the season. But Tyler McGill's been really good for New York. The punch-outs are there. It really just looks like the same guy that broke out last year with the team. And I do think the offense is better than what we've seen. They've been good, but I think the Mets offense could be really good. So maybe Soto reads the papers this morning, Trevor, and has a 2-homer game or something, and the Mets win. What do you got?
I went crazy with this, taking the money line Giants over a Phillies at plus 135 because
you're wild.
I'm a big spender. Yeah,
you were drafted by the Phillies. You have it hanging behind you.
I do.
Hundo to win 135. Trevor's got the Giants upsetting the Phillies. Phillies are favored tonight. Luzardo's on the mound against Verlander for San Francisco.
Maybe this is dumb.
Yeah. Well, I like Luzardo. That's why they're not favored. All right, here's your home run, no sweat token. You can use it and bet on any player to hit a home run in any MLB game. If they do not go yard, you'll get your stake back in bonus bets. There it is. Gambling problem or concern, call 1-800-GAMBLER. FT fam. We'll be right back. Let's slap and let's give some love to your buddy, Ken Griffey Jr.
Mhm.
Did you see his photo?
I did.
It went viral. That's cool.
It's a great photo.
Should we remind everyone of the Ken Griffey Jr. How I Became a Photog story?
Yeah, because he didn't want to see his kid. He didn't want to be bothered when he watched his kids.
Which is totally fair.
Yeah.
He gets bothered 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that, Trevor?
No. So when he would go watch them, he would take pictures of them so that people would leave him alone.
Yeah, like hit the
Genius.
sidelines. Yeah.
Put headphones in.
Yeah.
And like if his two sons ended up playing football instead of baseball. But when they were younger and they played baseball, he would go in the outfield and take pictures and put headphones in. And then when they were football, he'd stand on the sideline so nobody could bother him. And then his daughter played basketball and played Division I basketball. He would do the same thing. He'd get on the sideline, and that way no one would bother him.
Yeah, he just doesn't want. He doesn't like you guys. Leave him alone. You know what I mean? But I the fact that him and Randy Johnson both do this, and they play like that's, and they're like really good. That's a phenomenal photo. I loved that whole. Honestly, Rory's reaction was just awesome. I was like, let it out, man. You did. You can tell he wanted that. And then for Ken Griffey Jr. to get that photo, I don't know. That's one of the coolest kind of stories of the week for sure.
There's probably a photographer that's like, damn, he's the best at this now too. That's a really good photo.
It was a great photo.
Yeah.
Were you rooting for Rory? Were you rooting for Rory, Trevor?
A little bit, because I feel like a lot of people. I mean, I don't watch a ton of golf, but a lot of people are like, it's come on, man, it's your turn. Let's figure this out. So I feel like it's a long time waiting. He's been in that conversation for a long time, just hasn't got the job done, and you could tell he's like, finally, I got to the end. You always love it to see a guy do that. So I don't know. I just like seeing different guys win stuff.
And Griffey captured it. Were you happy?
With Rory? I was rooting for Rory.
Yeah.
100%. You know, that little dude can hit the ball farther than anyone I've ever seen. And in person, it's even more impressive because he's like small.
Yeah, gives hope.
One day we're going to get into a discussion about golf math because it doesn't make sense. And I had this argument with golf nerds, the guys that play golf, and it doesn't make sense.
Okay. I don't know golf math, but we can go over it. Analytics?
Yardages.
Okay.